show, yeah, we shut it down. 3, just to make sure you ready. 4, let them know that we run this town. 1 for the...
Okay, guys, moving on to the next step of the build. I think it's the one that probably leaves the most people guessing. It's what I get the most questions, the most comments, the most really anything about. People don't understand how to boost a carburetor. That's very common. I was there too. I had to learn all of this. There's no book to teach it. What I did from the beginning, I got a carburetor. I blew some air through it, and I just kind of watched it to see what happened. I was kind of surprised. Everything changes when air goes through it blowing. When it's not sucking air through it, when air is coming from the outside in, not from the inside through it, big changes. So, we got our carb set here. This is a later set of carburetors. I built the turbo bike, the turbo engine now, with the older set, really just to see if I could make it happen. And it worked out pretty good. I was kind of surprised that it actually did. Those carbs leak pretty good, which is why I wasn't too worried about it. I didn't want the boost to get too high. That intake plenum, it restricts boost a little bit too because it has a blow-off valve built in with the reed valves. It blows off about 14, 15 psi, which is fine. That's really what I want to limit it at. That way the intake will let off some. If the boost creep comes up, it won't ever get above by 18. I don't want 20. 20 is going to be even too much for this new build. Or not too much, but it's going to be more than enough. If we make 140 horse, it's going to take off and be gone. So, the carburetors. What I kind of want to show you guys here, if you see right here, that is the line that joins these two carburetors. This is the tube right here that the air comes in. Imagine air coming in this tube, being split off right here to these two carburetors. Then over here, it gets split off. It comes through this carburetor, gets split off again right here. Then comes over here, goes through this carburetor, and then gets split off again right here and goes to this carburetor. That's why I like these newer style. This is actually a set of carburetors. You can see here, they have the round slides, but they have the pivot top. It's a set of carbs from a 1978 cb750. And these are nice because they are a joined set. It's not single carburetors like the older style, which makes it a bit challenging because everything has to happen with each individual carburetor, which I'm kind of going to do with this setup too, because it makes the fueling for each carburetor way more even. If I was to use this one, these two carbs would get more pitot pressure than these two carbs because it's going to bleed off as it comes over. That's not good when you're working with pitos because you want the fueling to each cylinder to be the same. Each cylinder has to have the same fueling from each carburetor under boost. Otherwise, Mr. Boost takes over, melts your head and your pistons, and your carburetors are responsible for all of that. If the carburetors don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. And what I want to show you guys up here on top, let me just balance this up here for a second on the cylinder head. There we go. What I want to show you guys, that's why I have this tube on here. It's really easy to figure this out. Down here on the bottom, the float bowl drains. Essentially, the float bowl drains. They will drain the fuel from each carburetor if it overflows. Those can't exist with a pitot. The pressure must stay in the float bowl. If the pressure doesn't stay in the float bowl and comes out here, you're just going to leak your pitot pressure out. You're not going to pressurize your float bowl. You're not going to pressurize your carburetor. Your engine's going to run lean. Oh no, running lean. Not good. What I have here with this setup, essentially, these are just tied together just so I can show you guys. Once we get this kind of back together, I have these bowls loose right now. I was just checking on things. These two are tight. These two are loose. But what I'm going to show you, let me get my pointer here. This little vent and this little vent in the carburetor. One of these vents is for the mixture and one of these vents is for the float bowl. Every single carburetor has it. I like this set too because it has the accelerator pump. That's what this needle right here, it's not a needle, it's an injector. This little guy right here. Each carburetor has that also, right here. That will squirt fuel in when you twist on the throttle. So when you're first getting in it, these will squirt a little bit of fuel in just to give it that extra ramp up, and that'll help get that rev worked up pretty quick, which I was having problems with the others, and that's why I would have to vent off some of the pitot pressure just to get it to rev up on the boost so the turbo would spin, so everything would start to happen. The injector nozzles will take care of that pretty much, I'm sure, and the rest of it will be solved by sealing off essentially how I have to seal these down here, where the float bowls have to be sealed. The outer vent, or essentially this, I'm calling it the outer vent. This is the inner vent. Basically, we're using this in reverse. So air normally would be sucking in from here, whereas we're pushing air in. So we need to seal that off because otherwise the pitot pressure would leak through and not be able to squirt fuel out of the jet, which is essentially what's going to happen. When we pressurize this, after we seal off the vent here, soon as we apply boost pressure with the pitot to this tube, it will squirt fuel out of here like you wouldn't believe. It becomes a mechanical fuel injector. The pitot pressure pressurizes this tube, which pressurizes the float bowls, which will be through here. Right now, it's just hooked up to the main vent because this would normally just be, regular stoichiometric, nothing crazy, not boost pressure. It would just be normal atmosphere pressure coming in this tube, just relying, the carburetors normally would rely on atmosphere pressure. That's going to go away as soon as we come off idle. As soon as we rev up to about just over 1800 RPM, the turbo already starts to spin. The turbo that we're using now is a bit hotter than this one, has a smaller hot side, which allows it to rev up a bit quicker. This one has a little bit bigger hot side. It's a 0.67 hot side, which will allow everything to build up a bit more before it really lights up. Once the turbo lights up, it's going to come up to at least probably 12 pounds of boost, probably 14, 15. Anything higher than that, I'm going to limit it, and that's how that's going to work out. And once again, limit it with the wastegate actuator right here. Boost pressure comes out. It's adjustable. I can adjust the actuator back and forth to control my boost pressure. That's how that's adjusted. It's all done with pressure. No computers, no electronics. Just good old air pressure and good old mechanical goodness. That, once again, all this was designed many years ago when mechanical everything was how everything was done. Everything was done that way. Think about it, guys. Everything. Across the world, across the nation, across the globe, across the oceans and seas, every boat, every airplane, everything was done this way. It's going to be okay. We're going to be good. I had to learn a lot to believe that myself too. Believe me. Let me just show you guys. I bet you know that dude. That's Big Daddy. I can't tell you how badass that mofo really is. Mr. Don. 200 mile an hour buddy right there, Mr. Don. Thank you. Thank you for all the knowledge. First went and spoke to Don talking about nitromethane. He told me it runs at 4-to-1. I looked him in the eyeball and said, "What? Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah, you're going to go real fast, kid." We did. Let's just see over here. Yeah, here it is. Dump in real fast. Couple times. Also been up here a couple times. Can't tell you how much fun that place really is. Good times, guys. Learn it all from this guy right here. Don't ever be scared. If it's not going to happen, make it happen. If you can't make it happen, wish it. If you wish it and dream it and think about it and have it all around you, it's going to happen. You're going to do it. I promise. I never would have thought any of this would have happened. Would I ever would have made it this far? See my bro up there at the top? That's my buddy Chim Chim. Can't tell you how much just the help and guidance that man has given me just being my riding buddy. Just being there to say, yeah, let's go. Let's have some fun. Man. Thank you, Chim Chim. Owe you everything. I can't tell you how much. So, back here. What we're going to do down here, show you guys here. Got one screw holding these bowls in. Let me not drop my screwdriver here. There we go. So as you see what I was talking about, pull out my injector. That's the injector needle there. Whoop, that goes down in the pump nozzle. Comes down here from, there's a little tab up in here that pushes on it. You can just barely see it in there. That pushes down when I squeeze on the gas. That'll squirt just a little bit of fuel out of these guys, and that'll make everything work a whole lot better. So what you can see here, see, that's the float bowl drain. That will also leak pitot pressure out of the bottom of the carburetor if I do not have it sealed off. If I do not have either these joints so the boost just goes across, or had this sealed off at the bottom. Yamaha, I learned from Yamaha back in the day, the original XJ carburetors that I used the intake plenum from, those carburetors did not have a float bowl drain. The bottom of the bowl was sealed. I was trying to figure it all out and I couldn't really figure out what the difference was, and I looked at the bowl and was like, that's what it was. There's no float bowl drain. That's got to be sealed off, otherwise your pitot pressure goes away. You get no fuel. All you get's a bunch of ramping boost, and it does not work out, even a little bit. So, all that's got to be sealed. Either sealed off or have a little bit of vent here to where you can vent off a little bit of it, that's what I'm doing with the other setup now. It's venting a little bit of pressure so it comes up on the boost quicker and allows it to really stay. It still stays within stowage. Everything's good to go there. I think the richest it went was 9.82, which is way rich. And the leanest it ever got was 13.2, which is still even good. Never got above 14 or 15, except for way back when I was still learning, trying to figure stuff out. Now it's good. Everything I have as far as adjustments now, I can adjust 100% either way, and it's still not going to affect it to where it will ever run too rich or too lean or too much boost or any of that, unless I crank that. If I crank that actuator way in on the boost, yeah, it's gonna make as much boost as the turbo can, which it would be a lot if it ever read to 10,000 RPM. These turbos are made to rev to like 6 or 7, or they're measured to run to 6 or 7. They'll rev to well over that if I get it right, which we're gonna on this set. All this is gonna get worked out before it ever gets bolted together. You guys are gonna get to see. Down here, we're going to have to change the main jets. We're going to have to do a little bit of work on these, just cleaning them up. These are an older set. You can see there's a little bit of, well, yeah, there's some junk down under the bottom. Let's see on this one. Yeah, it's not too bad, but these are going to get new gaskets. This will probably get a new fuel pump diaphragm in here. There's a little diaphragm in here that actually moves up and down that pumps the fuel out. That'll get replaced also. So, let me show you guys what I'm talking about here with a little pitot pressure. Let me get this put back together and y'all will see exactly what I'm talking about. One sec. Okay guys, got the float bowls put back together there. And what I got here is just a little bit of soapy water. What I mean by blowing through these carburetors is blowing through this, not blowing air through here. I know boost is going to be coming through here. I wanted to see what else was going to happen. Whenever boost comes in here, that's what I was really trying to figure out. Because I know when boost comes in here, carburetors do not act like carburetors and everything goes wrong. So, what we're going to do here, we're going to take this little bit of soapy water. We're going to put it down here. Let me get some bubbles here. There we go. We're going to put some bubbles down here so we can really see where this air goes. One sec here. Let me get a little bit on all of them. Because I want to figure out too which one of these is the bowl vent and which one is the mixture vent. One of these tubes goes to your screw. It's out down actually on the bottom down here, which is your mixture screw, which controls your idle mixture. Okay, I think we're just about good here. Okay, we're looking good. Wipe off my hand here. Now what we're going to do, soon as I blow any kind of pressure on here, since the float bowls are sealed down here, soon as I blow pressure on here, we're going to see a bubble out of which one is the bowl vent and which one is the mixture vent. The mixture vent, we still need to leave open so that the idle air can provide mixture. It will also provide boost into that channel, which will provide extra fuel out the idle mixture or the idle jet once it's under boost. So, if you see here, I'm going to take this tube, I'm going to blow on it. Let me just make sure we got, okay, yeah, we still got good soap on this one. Let's just see here, guys. Let's see if you guys can see this. Let me get it. This one definitely bubbled. Okay, let's get some more soap on this one. Here we go. This one's definitely going to bubble. As I was saying, these two cars will see more pitot pressure with this setup. That just kind of proved it. This one didn't bubble, but it had bubbles on it. This one did. Okay, here we go. So you can clearly see now which one is open and which one provides the bowl vent. What I'm blowing in here, that goes straight to all four float bowls. I can hear all four venting, and what it is, I can see now that bottom tube on all four carburetors is the one I need to seal up. And essentially what I'm going to do with these guys, as you see here, let me get out of the light here. This is the trying to fight the light here. Once again, let me tip these up. There we go. Okay. So as we can see, this is the one that cleared out. You can clearly see it in this one. This one still has bubbles on it. This one doesn't. What I'm going to do, I tap the inside of that vent. I take a metric tap and I tap the inside of that vent with some machine threads, which isn't difficult at all. They tap super easy. You just get a small tap, run it down inside these vents, put a little bit of threads in there, then a little bit of thread lock and a screw, and it seals those off perfectly. Won't alter them at all. It won't change anything about them. If you ever want to return them back to not having boost, you take those screws back out and everything can go back to normal. You change your jetting back and everything is back to normal with your carburetors. No big deal there at all. I've done several like that now. On these, it's actually super easy because the tubes stick out real big. I just barely run a tap down in there. It'll put just maybe 2 millimeters of threads. That's really all I need. 1 or 2 mil, and I'm good. The screw won't need much to hold in there. The pressure will be equal on either side, so the pressure will not be pushing the screw out. As long as the screw is there to block the pressure from going in, that changes everything. As long as that screw is there blocking the pressure, it's good to go. I've actually done, way long ago in the past, I just plugged them with silicone. Some black silicone in there, plugged them up, done. It never blew the silicone out. I ran that engine for over a year at almost 22 pounds of boost. Ran my Yamaha, which had just plugs in it essentially. We ran that thing to 26 pounds of boost. Never really bothered any of it. As long as the pressure stays the same on both sides and your boost pressure is good and your pitot pressure and your intake pressure are good, the magic of the pitot is it will always be 1.5 psi higher than all remaining pressure. With the pitot tube, it provides a restriction in the plenum. That restriction slows all the rest of the air around it except for the pitot air. The pitot air will always be higher. Always. At whatever boost level. It doesn't matter. It's how airplanes work. It's how they have for a long, long time. It's how they've measured airspeed for every engine known. Jet engine, every commercial engine, that's how they've worked in the air. There's no tires to measure speed. It's all air movement. That's how it has to work. That's how I do what I got to go here. So, once we get this figured out down here, just need to pull these apart. Need to pull these tubes off that go in between each carburetor. Separate those off to individual tubes so that all 4 carbs see exact same pressure from the pitot. Each carburetor will provide the same amount of fuel with the same amount of pitot pressure to the cylinders. The turbo will spin up, make lots of boost. Everything will be real good. And that's really how the pitot works. I hope you guys can understand that. I hope I somewhat explained it to where it somewhat makes sense. It makes sense to me because I've done it and I've experimented with it quite a bit. Refine your technique, advance your knowledge, cultivate the thoughts. It will all work out in the end, I promise. Shortly, we're going to prove it. This thing is going to make a bunch of boost at some racetrack, drag strip, lane speed. I kind of want to go real fast. 180 doesn't seem so far off right now. It's already gone almost 130. Barely trying. My buddy said it's gonna, at 13 pounds of boost, it's gonna go 200. That thing's gonna make a lot more than 13 pounds of boost. And whatever compression ratio I determine on this one is gonna really figure everything out. Oh, man. Also, here you go, guys. Dave Freiberger. Check him out. Hot Rod Magazine. Oh, it was on my TV. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's me, too. Oh, sorry for the light reflection. Yeah. We about to cause some fun here, guys. More coming soon, I promise. We're about to figure these carburetors out. I'll give you guys a full pressure test. And then we're going to start porting that cylinder head. It's going to get dirty. I'm going to get geared up, put a bunch of cover me on because there's going to be aluminum flying everywhere from that cylinder head. It's going to be good and fun. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. More to come. Okay, one more thing. The fuel pressure coming in must stay higher than the boost at all times too. Whatever the boost pressure is, the fuel pressure needs to be about 2 pounds higher. That's why, as you guys, if you've watched previous vids, the bike is set up with the fuel pressure regulator and the big fuel pump. That might have to get upgraded too, because I'm going to need, if I make 20 pounds of boost pressure, I'm going to need 22 pounds of fuel pressure. I'm planning for, right now I'm planning for 15 pounds of boost, and I can make 20 pounds of fuel pressure. Anything over 20, I can't do it. So I need to stay under about 17, 18 pounds of boost. I need to stay under. Fuel pressure must stay higher than the boost pressure for the pitot pressure to work. For the fuel pressure to come in the float bowl, when the boost is coming in here, the boost will push down into the float bowl. The fuel pressure must be able to come in through the normal fuel line, which is up here. When the fuel comes in, it has to be under a higher pressure than the boost. Otherwise, it will not enter the float bowl. Simple concept. Pressure must be higher. Otherwise, one does not equal, one has to be higher than the other. Otherwise, it will not flow in. It only has to be a little bit higher. 1 or 2 psi, it's good to go. As long as it's 1, it's good. It'll come in. I like 2 because then it really comes in and fills the bowl, which you really need under boost. Yeah.
Yeah, they finna know the name. The shit you putting out will be so ashamed, boy. Everybody got a version of the story. Yeah, you know what I've been through, but you don't know the pain, boy. See, I got dreams of being rich. Probably why I feel like the king in this. Hating dudes don't mean the thing, and that's it. The team in this came to get lit. Hey, finna make a movie, Steve Spilly. What you boys talking ain't for real. I'm here to stop all the fake shit, and if they wanna stop me, they gon' have to kill me. But silly me for thinking they give me brain like a thinking cap, and that brain got me thinking fast. The game should be reattached. So far in the future.